Hi. In the Vital Statistics column in Economic Review in April 2004, we looked at some data relating to the monetary sector, and in particular looked at inflation and interest rates. Now, a little box set in the text set you a little task, which is to calculate real interest rates for each of the countries shown, namely the UK, USA and Japan, and to plot those on a graph in order to look for common patterns. Now, I'm just going to talk you through how you would go about that and look at some figures. So first of all, real interest rates. How do we calculate the real interest rate? Well, the real interest rate is basically the nominal interest rate, but adjusted for price inflation. And we can approximate that by looking at the difference between the nominal interest rate and the inflation rate in any period. So, for example, if you look in the table, for the UK in 2012, the yield on long-term government bonds was 2.61%, and the inflation rate was 2.8%. So the real interest rate was 2.61 minus 2.8, which is minus 0.19%. So calculating this approximation of the real interest rate is straightforward. If we now do that for each of the countries and plot the results on a graph, and you'll notice I've added France in here for a bit of added content, what we find is that there are some common patterns but also some differences. So if we look at the period from, say, 1997 up to about 2007, we see that, with the exception of Japan, there was a general slow decline in real interest rates. There's then a period of instability during the financial crisis, with real interest rates dipping in 2008 and then increasing in 2009 before settling down a bit after that. And we can, by looking at the separate nominal interest rate and inflation rate data, we can trace the source of this instability. Worth noting Japan, though, which follows a very different pattern, in particular between 1997 and 2000, and that reflects the particular circumstance in which the Japanese economy had been in during the 1990s. Let's switch back to looking at just nominal interest rates, and again you see Japan stands out as being different, having steady but very low interest rates throughout the whole period. But the general trend, right from 1997 right through to 2012 in nominal interest rates, is also clear, and these three countries seem to have followed a very similar pattern over this time. So the source of instability is not in nominal interest rates. That being so, of course, it must be in inflation, and that's exactly what we do see. So 2007 to 2008 saw an upward rise in inflation, and at the time this was partly associated with a global increase in commodity prices that took place then. However, that coincided with the onset of financial crisis, and what happened in 2009 is that inflation plummeted, more severely so in France, the USA and Japan than in the UK, only for then prices to begin increasing again after that point. So that's something about the pattern. You might ask why the real interest rate is significant. And of course the real interest rate represents the cost of borrowing adjusted for inflation. So the real interest rate is likely to affect both savings behaviour, in the sense that savers may be reluctant to save when real interest rates are very low, but also it reflects the influence on investment. So if real interest rates are high, then firms will look to find only the most profitable projects in which to invest. So, I hope that brief discussion was helpful to you. Thank you.